Hello, welcome to the weekly highlights program on Azərbaycan Television with the major developments of the week. I am your host, İlham Məmmədov. Now first, let's take a brief view at some of the top stories of this week. President İlham Əliyev, First Lady Mehriban Əliyeva and their daughter Leyla Əliyeva visited Cəbrayıl and Zingilan regions. President İlham Əliyev received President and Chief Executive Officer of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, Stanley Deal. On April 26, the 77th session of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific got underway virtually under the theme Building Back Better from Crisis Through Regional Cooperation in Asia and the Pacific at the organization's headquarters in Thailand.
Now, may I invite the conference room officer to play the video message of the President of Azerbaijan, His Excellency Mr. İlham Əliyev.
Distinguished heads of state and government, distinguished Under-Secretary General for the United Nations. First of all, I'd like to express gratitude for the invitation to address 77th session of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. Azerbaijan attaches great importance to its relations with countries from Asia and Pacific. COVID-19 pandemic exposed the world countries to new challenges. The government of Azerbaijan has taken necessary steps in countering pandemic from the beginning. In order to mitigate the impact of coronavirus on the economy, support business, and ensure macroeconomic and fiscal stability, the solid socio-economic stimulus package has been released. We launched vaccination campaigns since January. Close to 1.4 million vaccine doses have already been used. It constitutes 14% of our total population. However, the efforts taken on the national level only are not enough to successfully eliminate pandemic. Azerbaijan is on the forefront of the efforts to mobilize global action against pandemic. As a chair of the non-aligned movement, Azerbaijan initiated and successfully held the NAM summit in response to coronavirus in May 2020. The special session of the UN General Assembly at the level of the heads of state and government was held on our initiative last December. We are deeply concerned by vaccine nationalism and unfair distribution of vaccines among developing and developed countries. More than 30 rich countries ordered 53% of the world's supply of vaccines. Azerbaijan, as a chair of NAM and in its national capacity, will continue its struggle for the just distribution of vaccines worldwide, as well as access of developing and least developed countries to vaccines. Recently, the Human Rights Council unanimously adopted the resolution on equitable access for all countries to vaccines put forward by Azerbaijan on behalf of the non-aligned movement. Azerbaijan provided humanitarian and financial assistance to more than 30 countries in relation to coronavirus, most of which are least developed countries. Last year, Azerbaijan put an end to nearly 30 years of occupation by Armenia of almost 20% of its territories. As a result of occupation and ethnic cleansing policy of Armenia, more than 1 million Azerbaijanis were expelled from their native lands. In 1992, Armenia committed the Khojalı genocide, killing 613 innocent civilians, including women and children. The Khojalı genocide has been recognized by 13 states. The United Nations Security Council adopted 4 resolutions in 1993 demanding the full, immediate and unconditional withdrawal of armed forces of Armenia from all the occupied territories of Azerbaijan. However, these resolutions were never implemented by Armenia. I invite partner countries to join efforts to propose an elaborate mechanism of implementation of UN Security Council resolutions in order to avoid double standards. We all witnessed that some Security Council resolutions are implemented within days, but in our case, they remained unfulfilled for 27 years. There was no hope that Armenia would comply with demands of the Security Council resolutions. No pressure and sanctions was imposed on Armenia throughout all these years. Instead, Armenian military political leadership was threatening Azerbaijan with new war for new territories. In July 2020, Armenia perpetrated military provocation along the state border. In August, Armenian sabotage group attempted to penetrate through the line of contact. On September 27, Armenia launched large-scale military aggression against Azerbaijan, heavily shelling the military and civilian populations. Azerbaijan was compelled to launch counter-offensive operations to defend its citizens. Azerbaijan implemented Security Council resolutions and norms and principles of international law itself and restored the historical justice and its territorial integrity. During 44 days of the patriotic war, armed forces of Armenia were totally destroyed. Armenia was forced to sign the Act of Capitulation on 10 November 2020. Thus, Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict is over. The conflict was left in the past. All Azerbaijani cities and villages have been razed to the ground by Armenia during the occupation. Agdam city is called Hiroshima of Caucasus by foreign experts. Armenia deliberately vandalized, desecrated, and pillaged our cultural and religious sites. More than 60 mosques were destroyed by Armenia. Mosques were turned into cowshed and pigsty. Now there is a huge task before us: reconstruction of completely destroyed cities and villages, all cultural and religious heritage sites in the liberated territories. Smart city, smart village, and green energy concepts will be applied in the process of reconstruction. I invite companies from friendly countries to join the large-scale reconstruction in the liberated territories, the size of which is 4 times larger than Luxembourg. Recently, I defined national priorities on socio-economic development for the next 10 years. Competitive human capital and space for modern innovations, return to the liberated territories, clean environment and green growth country were identified as our key priorities. Azerbaijan is eager to maintain sustainable peace and security in the region. Azerbaijan has made enormous contribution to the launch of regional connectivity projects such as East-West, North-South, North-West transportation corridors. We are now working on the realization of Zengezur transportation corridor, which will be an integral part of the East-West corridor connecting Asia and Europe through Azerbaijan. The corridor will allow Azerbaijan to strengthen its position as Eurasia's transport and logistic hub. I invite partner countries from Asia and the Pacific to consider the potential of this regional project. Thank you for your attention.
On April 26, President İlham Aliyev, First Lady Mehriban Aliyev and their daughter Leyla Aliyeva visited Cebrail and Zengilan regions.
President İlham Aliyev, First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva and their daughter Leyla Aliyeva took part in the inauguration of the military unit of the State Border Service in Cebrail region.
Muhterem Prezident, Cenab-ı Ali Başkomandan, her bir ise açılışa hazırdır. Hizmet Reisi Cenab Falconi Guliyev. Hoş geldiniz Cenab Prezident. Salam. Salam.
The head of state was informed that all the necessary conditions had been established in the new military unit to ensure high-level military service. The Azerbaijani army, having liberated our lands from the occupation during the 44-day patriotic war, also implemented such an important mission as the restoration of the state border. As an integral part of our armed forces, the personnel of the State Border Service also inflicted heavy blows on the enemy and expelled it from our lands. After getting familiarized with the conditions in the military unit, President İlham Əliyev met with a serviceman of the State Border Service. He noted that the opening of a new military unit on Azerbaijan-Iran border was a remarkable day in the life of our country. The restoration of our villages destructed as a result of the occupation policy of Armenia based on the cutting-edge construction concept has commenced. The head of state and First Lady were informed that the first smart village pilot project covered BİRİNCİlik, İkinci, Üçüncü Ağalı villages of Zengilan region. The project will be mainly implemented based on 5 components. These are housing, production, social services, smart agriculture, and alternative energy. At the initial stage, it is envisaged to build 200 individual houses in the area using fully insulated and innovative construction materials. Experts from Turkish, Chinese, Italian, and Israeli companies will take part in the project. President İlham Əliyev also met with the residents of Zengilan and underscored the importance of projects to be implemented here. Residents of Zengilan in their turn expressed gratitude to President İlham Əliyev for the return to the ancestral lands. Then the head of our state laid the foundation of Smart Village project. President İlham Əliyev also laid the foundation of Zengilan International Airport. The head of state spoke about the significance of this airport. He noted that geographical location of Zengilan creates opportunities to transform this region into international transport logistical hub. Afterwards, President İlham Əliyev participated in the groundbreaking ceremony of Zengilan-Horadiz Highway. The highway, with the overall length of 124 kilometers, will have 6 lanes. Then President İlham Əliyev, First Lady Mehriban Aliyeva and their daughter Leyla Aliyeva came to Zengilan Mosque to be restored by the Heydar Aliyev Foundation. The head of our state laid the foundation of the mosque. President İlham Əliyev noted that the heinous enemy destroyed Zengilan Mosque and added that all the international organizations should see the Armenian barbarism. The head of our state accentuated that all the historical and religious monuments will be restored in the territories liberated from the occupation. The head of our state also reviewed the territory where Minjivan railway station, barbarously destroyed by the enemy, was located. He noted that the heinous enemy demounted the railways and took away the rails and sold them, melted them, and used them as the installation of fortifications against tanks. Saying that the process of reconstruction of the railway was commenced here, the head of state underlined that the railway extending from Horadiz to Arband will be constructed, and then through Zengezur corridor, it is planned to extend this railway to Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic.
President İlham Əliyev received President and Chief Executive Officer of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, Stanley Deal.
On behalf of Boeing, President and Chief Executive Officer of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, Stanley Deal expressed gratitude to the head of state for his leadership in cooperation with Azerbaijan, stressed that they managed to implement all business with Azerbaijan. President İlham Əliyev noted the successful cooperation of our republic with Boeing Company, touched upon the role of this cooperation in the development of our airlines. The head of state announced the construction of new airports in the territories liberated from the occupation, stressing that in this regard, our aircraft fleet will be expanded. President İlham Əliyev noted that several airports had been built in Azerbaijan and 3 more airports will be built in the liberated territories. The head of state stressed that the first airport, the construction of which began several months ago in the territories liberated from the occupation, will be commissioned in September. Stanley Deal said that this was very important and the work was progressing very fast. President İlham Əliyev also noted the potential of our country's cargo aircraft fleet and spoke about the possibilities for cooperation in this area. I'm confident that our successful cooperation will continue. You also helped us in the development of the cargo aircraft fleet, said President İlham Əliyev, stressing that Azerbaijan was among the leading countries in terms of capacity of cargo air fleet. This is commendable, given the honor of being the best in air cargo transportation in 2020 and the fact that this process began 20 years ago. And you have already become a leader in this business, stated President and Chief Executive Officer with Boeing Commercial Airplanes. The head of state regarded this as a great achievement because not many countries in our region have such a powerful fleet of aircrafts for cargo transportation. This helps Azerbaijan and serves cooperation, said President İlham Əliyev. Stanley Deal stressed that the ability to carry out cargo transportation was a strategic issue.
On April 28th, on the initiative of the President of the World Economic Forum, President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, İlham Əliyev, met via video conference with President of the Forum, Borge Brende.
President of the World Economic Forum, Borge Brende, conveyed the greetings of the forum's founder and executive chairman, Klaus Schwab, to the head of state. President İlham Əliyev sent Klaus Schwab's greetings and asked to convey his greetings to the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. During the meeting, it was noted that long-term fruitful cooperation had been established between our country and the World Economic Forum, and that Azerbaijan actively participated in a number of initiatives of the World Economic Forum as a part of cooperation. It was noted that Azerbaijan and the World Economic Forum are successfully cooperating in the development of the non-oil sector in our country. President İlham Əliyev briefed Borge Brende on infrastructure projects and investments attracted in our liberated territories. The head of state said that the reconstruction process was underway in those areas. A huge work, a light-head and large area would be completely rebuilt. It was noted that the main focus of efforts now will be reconstruction of the territories, which will also give impetus to the non-energy sector, especially construction, emphasizing that the foundation of the villages to be reconstructed with smart village concept had been laid 2 days ago. The head of state noted that the liberated territories had been declared as a green zone, that concept of smart city and smart village would be applied in those areas, and that master plans would be developed for those areas. Adding that infrastructure projects related to production, electricity, highways, railways and airports are underway, the head of state touched upon the prospects of cooperation with the World Economic Forum in this field. During the conversation, the parties also underlined the measures taken in Azerbaijan to combat the pandemic, and the positive ratio of people recovering in the country in recent days was assessed as a positive development. It was noted that vaccination has started in Azerbaijan. 14% of the population have already been vaccinated. Very important and global measures had been taken at the initiative of our country in connection with the pandemic. Azerbaijan provided humanitarian and financial assistance to more than 30 countries, and that one of the issues raised by Azerbaijan nationally and in its capacity as the chair of the non-aligned movement was the fair distribution of vaccines in the world. During the conversation, the activities of the affiliate of the Centers of the Fourth Industrial Revolution Network of the World Economic Forum were highlighted. The head of state expressed gratitude for the establishment of the first such center in the CIS region in Baku, noting the role of the center in terms of diversifying the economy and continuing reforms, as well as attracting investments. It was noted that the center had been founded in Davos in 2020 with the signing of a letter of intent by President of Azerbaijan İlham Əliyev and President of the World Economic Forum Borge Brende. Close cooperation with the World Economic Forum had already been ensured to organize the activities of the center. At the initial stage, analysis of artificial intelligence and the digital economy are being conducted. President İlham Əliyev invited Borge Brende to visit Azerbaijan and get acquainted with the activities of the center. Noting that now great attention is paid to the education of the younger generation, President İlham Əliyev thanked Borge Brende for the opportunity created for Azerbaijani youth to participate in the initiatives and programs of the World Economic Forum as interns. Noting that there is a good environment in our country to attract investment, Borge Brende stressed that the Azerbaijani youth had been excellent and expressed hope that they would contribute to the diversification of the Azerbaijani economy.
President İlham Əliyev received a delegation led by Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Lithuania, Gabrielius Landsbergis.
The ties discussed Azerbaijan-Lithuania bilateral relations and the issues of regional security. The head of state highlighted the occupation of Azerbaijani lands by Armenia for nearly 30 years and affirmed the country's position on the situation during the post-war period. They discussed the issues of cooperation between the Republic of Azerbaijan and the European Union and expressed hope that the negotiations on a new draft agreement between the Republic of Azerbaijan and the European Union will be completed soon.
Now it's time to review the global developments. I'm currently joined by our guest, international law expert Orhan Amashov. Welcome to our studio, Orhan.
It's great to be here.
One of the pressing issues of last week and even this week, I would say, is the utterance by the US President Joe Biden of the phrase Armenian genocide. Can you please elaborate and dwell on that? Why did he make such a statement, whereas many presidents before him did not choose to do so?
But it's very unfortunate that American President Joe Biden decided to use this famous G word in his announcement. There are a couple of reasons. I think that the first reason could be seen in a very simple way. He promised, it was part of his election manifesto, and he decided to honor that particular promise. But as you said, the many American presidents prior to Joe Biden made same kind of promises, but they decided not to use the G word. I think one of the reasons is that it is to do with battle between the Republicans and Democrats within the American political system. So American Armenian community from now on would be supporting Democrats, and I think that to a certain extent Joe Biden ensured lifelong and support, loyalty of Armenian voters, and that was one of the reasons. And also, of course, it's not accidental at all, because, as you know, Turkey is a regional power, its clout is increasing, and to a certain extent it could be seen as an act of punishment. But I think that, of course, it will not have any serious ramifications in terms of the future American-Turkish relations, but it's very unfortunate, of course.
Well, there are obvious downsides of the statement. Obviously, the relations with Turkey will deteriorate because of this, even though Turkey stated that they would remain strategic allies. But for the genocide, for the fact of genocide to be assessed, there has to be an historical commission set up, archives should be opened. But this is just a political statement. There's no legal power behind it. You know, was it worth it?
There are two important aspects to what happened in 1915. First aspect is historical. It's a historic event. There was a decision to relocate Armenian population of Eastern Anatolia from sensitive areas. So it must be studied and analyzed very carefully by historians. And there's a second aspect, which is a purely legal aspect, because genocide is not a political, it's not just a term created by political scientists, it's a legal notion. And it is clearly classified and regulated by the United Nations Convention, 1948 Convention. And genocide is an act, is a series of acts committed with the intent to in part or in whole to destroy the certain group on the grounds of religious, ethnic or other categories. So it's a very legal, it's a legal notion. And interestingly enough, the politicians who are pontificating about this issue, they are not really privy to the legal intricacies of this notion. And for that reason, I think that what happened in 1915, of course, is a tragedy. But we need to see whether it was a genocide in a legal sense of the word. No, it wasn't a genocide. There is no international court decision to that effect. And it's very sad that politicians and people who are not really knowledgeable about the subject are actually talking about it. So we have to be very clear about the legal part of the story. And it is very unfortunate because Americans are not going to get any plausible thing. They may gain the votes of certain Armenian population, but I don't think that it's worth it because they will be losing a lot of precious things in the context of American-Turkish relations. There are certain attempts by Armenian diaspora to equate what happened to Armenians in 1915 and the Ottoman Empire with what happened to Jewish people in Nazi Germany. And Bernard Lewis, a famous historian, speculated and he discussed this issue, and he actually made some very interesting points. What happened to Armenians should be understood in the right historic context. There was a movement, Armenian resistance movement, and there was a rebellious movement against the Turkish authorities. Whereas in Nazi Germany, there wasn't a rebellious movement by Jewish people against the German state. And had there been a decision to exterminate Armenian population of the Ottoman Empire, that deportation law would have covered also Armenians living in Istanbul and in Izmir. And also Armenians were in charge of one city for a long time. So, and another important aspect of this story is that when Armenians talk about people who died during 1915 events, they are actually calculating people who died from 1915 to 1923. After 1918, there was a military clash between Armenian forces and Turks. So the numbers are exaggerated by means of all sorts of things. So what I want to say that what happened in 1915, of course, is tragic. it must be carefully explained, and the Turkish government's position is very, very open. They're saying that all our archives are open, come, study, and they have a commission, let us have a fair analysis and then come to conclusion. And it seems that certain forces within the Armenian diaspora, they're trying to present this case as genocide, and actually anybody denying this fact being considered as somebody who doesn't understand the gist of the issue. So for that reason, I think that it's a matter for historians and a matter for lawyers in order to understand its legal part.
Thank you very much for valuable observations, Orhan. That was all for the week. Thank you for watching us, and stay tuned not to miss the next edition of our program.